Hello, 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 and welcome back to another video on the Spiritually Awakened Man channel. I'm Michael, and I'm here to share some additional information with you. Today's video is going to be focusing around energy. Now, energy is a huge topic in the spiritual world, and I can't touch on anywhere near, as broad as this topic is. However, one area that I want to talk about, and it's some of its related areas, would be the Schumann resonance. Some of you have maybe heard of the Schumann resonance frequency, or just the Schumann, as a lot of people call it. And what it is, it's something that's measured that gives us the vibrational frequency of the Earth. A fellow named Otto Schumann, back in 1950, figured out that you could measure the magnetic resonance within the ionosphere, and it would tell us the vibrational frequency of the Earth. And don't ask me how they figured this out, but they figured out that it's been very much the same for thousands of years. I'm not sure how they measure things thousands of years ago. Maybe it's recorded in recorded in trees that are petrified or something like that they can measure somehow. I have no idea. But anyway, it's 7.83 hertz is what it's generally running at. However, the last few years, it's been increasing and spiking, and it has to do with things coming from the sun. The sun affects the vibrational frequency of everything here, and certainly the vibrational frequency of our ionosphere. Now, why is that important? It's important because they found that humans at the brain level, we have a low vibrational frequency in our brain that corresponds very closely with the vibrational frequencies of the Schumann. So over thousands of years in evolution, our vibrational frequency has come into a synchronization with the Earth. And this happens, this happens naturally. Now, as the vibrational frequency of the Schumann resonance has been shown over the last few years and accelerating lately to rise. It's not uncommon to see it in the 8.5. I've heard reportings of it being 16. This is important because in our synchronization, in our bodies, in our brain, our neurons, they call it kindling. They kindle to the vibrational frequency of the Earth. Kindle means match. Anyway, as the vibrational frequency of the Earth slowly rises, and this is a big deal. It's seems kind of like not a big deal if you're just kind of looking at it from a scientific perspective as a layman like I am, and a lot of us are. Doesn't seem like any big deal. But what happens is, as the vibrational frequency of the Earth rises, our bodies strive to synchronize ourselves with that. So this is actually raising our vibrational frequency. Why is this important? It's important because ascension from the third dimension that we live in to the higher dimensions of the fourth and the fifth, supposedly we're going through this cycle right now. And if our vibrational frequency is being increased as a result of something that's happening to the Earth's vibrational frequency, that is moving us along the line of ascension that we want to be moving. So people in the spiritual world watch the Schumann resonance because it affects us in this way. We've been told that in order for us to exist in a higher dimension, the fifth dimension ideally, we have to vibrate at a much higher vibrational frequency to exist there. So anything that raises our vibrational frequency is going to be a good thing. From a physical perspective, what's happening is our bodies are moving from a carbon-based system in our DNA to a crystalline-based system. So our DNA is going through a change as a result of these higher vibrational frequencies that we're getting exposed to. And I'll talk a little bit about some other ones in a minute. But ultimately, for us to be able to vibrate at the frequency levels that are required to be in the fourth and fifth dimension, we have to have a much higher vibrational frequency setting in our bodies. In order to be able to handle that, our bodies need to transform from a carbon-based system to a crystalline-based system. So that's what's going on here, and that's why we watch these frequencies. Other things. So what's causing it? Let's go there for a second. What's causing it is the Schumann to rise and our bodies to change in different ways is coming from our sun. We're bombarded by vibrational frequencies from different aspects of the sun. You've got coronal mass ejections, which are very violent. We all know what they are. We've seen pictures of them. They're just a violent explosion of energy on the sun. And there's a frequency and an energy that comes with that. There are solar winds. there are solar flares in addition to these coronal mass ejections. More commonly, the solar flares are what we watch, because out of that comes a certain type of light that has a certain type of high frequency that would transmit information, data that would be coming into our systems and affecting our DNA, which is where our information and data is kept. So you would say that if we can watch the solar flare activity and see what level it's at, that's going to tell us whether or not our DNA is being affected. In order for us to change from a carbon to a crystalline-based system, our DNA has to change, has to transform. All right. Solar winds, when you have high solar winds, it's going to change the magnetic activity on Earth, and that's when we see the northern lights. There's been amazing northern light shows recently and increasing. So these things are very important to watch. The Schumann gets affected. It comes from the sun. What we're told is that the sun is being affected by our central sun in a galaxy, don't laugh, far, far away. And it's from the central sun there, which is Alcyon, much more powerful, much bigger than our sun, and it affects the entire universe. So when it's in a certain place in the universe, it doesn't really affect us. It doesn't really hit our sun the way planets are aligned and so forth. But right now, where our sun is getting bombarded by Alcyon, that's where this additional activity and this additional information in the form of vibrational frequency information is ultimately coming from. So this is what ties into our spiritual awakening. How do we know this? How can we tell? Well, you can watch certain channels that track these things and explain what's going on. I think one of the better ones, by the way, which isn't it's not like a scientific station. There are many scientific stations, by the way, that gives you so much scientific information. I don't even know what most of it means. It's just in a language that I don't speak. You can go there. They collect this information at a station in Russia. They collect this at a station at the Cumiana station in Italy, and you'll find reports from there. Okay. But if you want an explanation that makes more sense to laymen like me, and maybe you, you can go to a telegram station, and it's called 144,000, the number, light workers. And they give a pretty good synopsis of what's going on with these different factors that affect us this way. Some of the things we will notice, and maybe you can relate to this, is when we're getting bombarded with, solar wind and solar flares, things like that. Coronal mass ejections too, but they're less common. We will be tired. Our body is taking in this energy, and our body is reacting to it. Our bodies are changing, and we'll notice this by being extremely tired during periods of high solar activity. Like in the afternoons, you'll be so tired you can't. It's like you can't even work. All you want to do is lay down and take a nap. Other times when we have a lot of this activity going on, you'll notice that you can't sleep at night. There'll be periods of the night when you just are wide awake and you can't sleep. And you'll learn then to maybe look at your 144,000 Lightworker channel, for example, and see that, and by the way, that's reported on the East Coast. So if you're not on the East Coast, they're ahead, which is kind of good for this. They'll be telling you what's going on, and we might have some effects that we feel, which is definitely awake. You'll just be awake, and in the morning you'll be tired, and you'll just be dragging the next day. That's one way you'll notice it. Those are probably the biggest ways. Sometimes you'll notice, they call them ascension symptoms, and you can look these up online as well. There'll be lists of ascension symptoms. Having aches, certain kinds of aches and pains, having headaches, different things like that. And you'll notice these things. And once you start cluing in, you'll start to see that they align with this activity from the sun that's hitting our Earth and affecting things like our Schumann resonance. So that's all I've got for you about this. I could go on for hours about this. I couldn't, because I'm not that deep into this. I'm just where I am. But you can go on endlessly researching this and finding scientific channels to tell you more about it. But at a high level, that's what this is all about, and have some fun with it. It will maybe help you understand why you feel tired at certain times, or you're easy to aggravate, things like that. It does tie into this, and it'll help you understand it. So that's it for now. Thanks for joining the channel and the video. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to get updates, of course, and help me out by seeing how many people are viewing the video. Take care.